It is officially the start of draft season. The college football season is behind us. The NFL regular season is completely done, and we are gearing up to watch the NFL playoffs coming up this weekend. That means we can shift our focus to some of these all-star games. We can shift our focus to talking about the combine, which will eventually come up, but it's also perfect timing to do a mock draft. So we're going to start off the cycle with a mock draft just for the teams that have not, or sorry, have an established determined pick that are not going to be participating in the playoffs, the ones that we know exactly where they're going to be selecting, and those are the only ones that are going to be a part of this mock draft. Before we get to that, though, I'm Joe DeLeone with Ryan Roberts and Alex Gilstrap. Make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you're tuning in. Before we get into it also, though, Ryan, I want to ask you were at CGS this past week. You were there for a few days. I want to know, what was it like?
It was a lot of fun because I got in actually before the event even started. Unfortunately, I had to leave a little earlier. It was actually my first time in Texas, which was, kind of just cool. Yeah. First time in Texas. Like I've been through Texas on a connecting flight before, but I've never actually so I've been in an airport in Texas, but I've never actually been in Texas.
Alex, have you been to Texas before?
Furthest west I've been is New Orleans, so no.
What is wrong with you guys? Did you not travel? Like what?
Texas sucks, man. Like let's be honest. I'm just kidding.
We're isolating listeners now.
No. But the best trip of my life was a connecting flight. I think we stopped in Texas to go out to Yellowstone National Park, which is a lot of fun. So,
okay.
But to answer your question, back on the tangent, since you're talking trash already, and the show didn't even actually start yet. So it was cool. Kind of see it because you saw obviously a little bit of the smaller school kids early in the week, and then you saw the bigger school kids come in. And it's just kind of cool to see, kind of compare them side by side a little bit. I got to meet a bunch of scouts, got to meet other media members. I got to see them interacting from scouts to players, and just got to see weigh-ins and a lot of cool. I think there's a lot of cool different sides to the evaluation process that people don't talk about a lot. DEXA scan and not Wonderlic anymore, but there's the aptitude tests and the team tests and the surveys that they all have to take for each team. So you saw multiple layers of the process, which was a lot of fun behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's awesome that you got to be there for that for the first time this year. And just the beginning of the draft cycle, as we've got the Shrine Game coming up, we've got the Senior Bowl, and we will have a ton to talk about throughout this cycle. As I said, we're kicking things off with the mock draft. Before we get to that mock draft, though, folks, I need to tell you about Bet Online. The NFL playoffs are this weekend, and your team might be out of it. Doesn't mean that you can't have some fun. Put some money down. Go and make some picks. Maybe you think there's going to be an upset this weekend. Maybe you think that it's going to be all favorites. Go make some money, do a parlay, goof around, have some fun. BetOnline remains your number one spot for that betting, though, for all of your sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code BELIEVE to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all of the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, mock draft time, guys. I am so freaking juiced up that we can just talk NFL draft, and it is NFL draft season. There's no more recapping and talking about games that already happened. That we are only talking about prospects, and it is going to be a fun start to this cycle. So today's mock, I'm going to be going first. It is going to be Alex second, and then Ryan third in that order. And for the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting first, we are well aware that they are in a bit of an interesting spot here because they have an not established, but a young core of edge rushers. They have Josh Allen, who looks fantastic. Kayvon Chazon, not so much. He's not really there yet. But in this scenario, you have to consider, do you go with one of the top two guys that has consistently been mocked at that number one spot, the two edge rushers? I'm going to go in a different direction here for the sake of the mock draft. I think that
Nick Saban.
they're going to draft Nick Saban first overall.
Could happen.
They might need to do that. Considering that Trevor Lawrence struggled at times this year, and I think the reason for him struggling is a lack of weapons, a lack of an established offensive line. I mean, like, there's not really like a big name quality lineman in that group. There's also a possibility that Cam Robinson doesn't return because he's expected to be a free agent.
And he stinks. Don't forget that part.
And he's also not very good. So let's do the logical thing here. Let's replace him with another Alabama offensive lineman. Give me Evan Neal first overall to the Jaguars. Anyone have any jabs at that?
Well, I actually went on a Jaguars radio station today and talked a little bit about this whole conversation. And I mean, honestly, we're not doing trades in this, but I think that trading back for Jacksonville would be the most ideal situation because, like you said, Evan Neal makes the most sense. But also, do you want to draft Evan Neal first overall? But then also, is anybody going to trade up for one of these quarterbacks? Because that's usually the trade up bait, right? So, like, it's a weird situation with a lot of layers. Ultimately, I think Evan Neal probably makes the most sense. I just wish that Jacksonville would be able to potentially move back a couple of slots to take him. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I think that I agree with you there, Ryan. I think that the trading back situation for Jacksonville, especially because it will probably allow them to accumulate more draft capital they can use to just bring in good football players, because that's what Jacksonville's missing on both sides of football, quite frankly. So I'm up with the Detroit Lions.
Yes, sir.
Detroit is a bad roster.
Which makes it so easy because you can just take best player available. Like if it's a need.
Honestly, you could go through the top 5 or so of this draft where these teams are selecting, and it's just take best player available. Yeah. Obviously, if there's a quarterback warranted a top 5 selection, this could be a good situation for him. But I'm not forcing a quarterback here. I'm just going to take best player available. I'm going to take high ceiling. I think Aidan Hutchinson's been a popular name for Detroit. I think a lot of the reason is him staying in the state of Michigan. Kind of seems like a Dan Campbell guy, but we're going to take the best player, and that's going to be Kayvon Thibodeau.
Ooh, there we go. And I also Aidan Hutchinson got his ass kicked during that.
Yeah, did not end his season with a good taste in your mouth.
That was a good pick, Alex. It was a good solid pick, man.
Well, thank you so much.
So I'm looking through Houston's roster here, and it's weird because, I mean, before the season, you probably would have said it would have been quarterback, right? But Davis Mills, man, I might have been on to something a little bit. Yeah, with Davis Mills, he's doing pretty well.
Can't bail on him yet.
Second best rookie quarterback this year, honestly, after Mac Jones. As much as that pains me to say, although when you kind of like weigh things out, right? Like who's done more with less, if we're being completely honest here. But exactly, so that was the point. Houston Texans, they're another team that's like there's just holes everywhere, so you can literally just go best player available, right? And I know it's a safety number 3, like that's crazy, but I don't care. Kyle Hamilton coming off the board here, despite them having a solid safety in Justin Reed. They're starting Eric Murray opposite of Justin Reed, who is just a very average football player. Kyle Hamilton is the best player here. Again, filling a need because there's so many on the Houston roster. Kyle Hamilton's the face of a franchise defensively, and he could change the state of that defensive unit and of this franchise, I think, potentially down the road. So get him. Kyle Hamilton.
There we go.
Get him.
Yeah, you didn't definitively say Kyle Hamilton, so I was waiting for you to finalize that.
I think you need to clean out your ears, sir. You
were talking. The problem was the previous pick, Alex started talking about Aidan Hutchinson, so I was like, "Wait, do I click Aidan Hutchinson?" So I didn't want to.
Yeah, I threw you off a little bit, didn't I?
We would have had to completely start the damn thing over, and it would have been very frustrating.
It's like a Southern thing, man. He's like, "Golly gee, I don't know which one to pick."
No, I think Kyle Hamilton is like a really reoccurring pick I keep seeing for the Texans. I feel like he either goes there or he slides a little bit to 5 to the Giants, but him going third
Jets,
overall,
man. Jets.
Or the Jets too.
Jets, yes. So another quick story. I'm sorry. I know we're trying to stay on a timely schedule here. But I actually went on a New York Giants podcast, right?
Which
while ago. I forget what it's called. But my wife was laughing at me because I played the rant that I had where I basically said, like, I don't care if you guys have PTSD from drafting Jamal Adams in the top 5. Kyle Hamilton's a dude. You got to take him top 5 because he completely changed your defense. He's a completely different football player than what Jamal Adams was. It was just funny. We were actually just listening to it a little bit. And I forget what the guy said, but my wife's like, what the heck is that guy saying? I need to find the clip. It's hard to explain. But all that to say, Kyle Hamilton's special. Don't overthink this. I don't care if he's a safety. I don't care if you. Oh, my wife just texted me. Apparently, he said, "Sweet Caroline." I told you to sell me on him, and you went over the top. So, all that to say, Kyle Hamilton's special. Do not get PTSD if he falls to the Jets and think I can't draft a safety at the top 5 again. He's different, man. He's different. Just want to throw it out there. He's different.
So that puts me up with the New York Jets, who are selecting at 4th overall. And I would argue this is pretty good value for Aidan Hutchinson to slide a little bit after some other teams tried to address some other needs. Maybe in the circumstance, like we said, teams have a bad taste in their mouth and they're not a little uncertain on Hutchinson. But you look at the Jets, they do need some help offensively. They probably need to add some weapons, some interior linemen. But on the defensive side of the ball, with a defensive-minded head coach in Robert Saleh, they're going to be willing to take whoever is best available. And if they get in the debate of Derek Stingley versus Aidan Hutchinson, I would argue if Hutchinson's on the board, they might be more leaning towards going with Hutchinson. So I'm going to take Aidan Hutchinson here for the Jets because he slid all the way to 4. Pretty good value for him. And I think any defensive player for them, if it was either Stingley or Karlaftis or Hutchinson, they're getting some pretty good value there, and it would be a nice pick to bolster that defense. So can't really go wrong.
Yeah, can't complain. I mean, Aidan Hutchinson's obviously done what he had to do to get himself in this conversation. So this is actually a little lower than you've seen him as of late in mock drafts. But honestly, that's who I was going to go with potentially at 5, and I didn't think you'd take him, so I have to rethink everything here for the New York Football Giants.
Just don't take Stingley. That's the only one that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Stingley doesn't make sense. You got Bradbury, you got
Adoree
Jackson. That's the other name there.
Adoree stinks.
Wide receivers in need, but there's no top 5 wide receiver. Quarterback's in need. Quarterback, nothing in the top 5. Offensive line could use some help. Andrew Thomas looked better.
Andrew Thomas looked good. Andrew Thomas had a good season.
Yeah,
very good season. They need interior dudes, though.
Would you say he probably had the best season out of that top 4 tackles from that draft class?
Yeah, because a lot of them were hurt.
Well, I think Wirfs was probably still the best one, but Thomas I think was like a close second. Becton got hurt, and Jedrick Wills took a huge downslide.
Yeah,
he did not play very well. But.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think you got to stay on the offensive line here, though, just based on what's on the board here. Like you said, Joe, the cornerbacks don't make too much sense. If you're just looking at best available here, Karlaftis kind of fits that 3-4 look that they like to run.
Although we don't know what they're going to be running now.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? I'm just going to go. This has been the hardest one so far, my second pick. I still have to do my end of season review on him, but Akeem Aquanu is gonna. I cannot say that name. That's the one I struggled with this year.
Aquanu, you had it.
Yeah,
Aquanu.
I had it.
Yeah,
okay. That's gonna be my pick here. I think that right tackle could be future outlook for him, but this is someone that I'm comfortable moving inside to, which I think the Giants need some help with too. So I think this guy you'll find a place for a good football player like Aquanu to get some playing time. So I like him as a short-term answer to this offensive line, and I think he has a good long-term outlook as well.
Joe, did you know that Ikem Aquanu's brother plays for Notre Dame?
Who's his brother?
Osita Ekwonu. He's a linebacker.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
He doesn't play.
That name doesn't ring a bell.
He was like a 4-star kid, but he just hasn't played at Notre Dame. Linebackers been pretty good for Notre Dame, to be honest. So, Alex, I do like that selection because I think that I'm not really Ikem Ekwonu top 10 dude, but for what the Giants need to plug up multiple spots potentially on the offensive line, whether it's right tackle or inside a guard, I think that he gives you some versatility in that respect. Because on this pick for the Carolina Panthers, I was thinking quarterback, but again, I'm not going to force it. I would be comfortable taking Strong, but I'm not going to take Strong. I'm going to give him the other tackle that's on this board, Charles Cross from Mississippi State. And in theory, you'd be like, well, I like Charles Cross more than Ekwonu. Why would I take Charles Cross for Giants if I was on the board? Charles Cross has only played left tackle. That's the only spot he's ever played. You're not going to move a guy like Andrew Thomas. Getting a guy like Ekwonu that can play multiple spots makes a ton of sense. And then getting him here for Carolina Panthers to play left tackle when their left tackle is, I think Dennis Daly is playing left tackle right now for him. It's not great. I think Brady Christensen's played a little bit, but like nobody's taken that position, right? So absolutely. Charles Cross, best blind side protector in the draft to the Carolina Panthers.
A little bit of run on linemen here now pretty early. We've gotten 3 that have come off the board, and that definitely makes sense to go Charles Cross there. The Panthers are desperately in need of some linemen because they're fine at receiver. They're not bad defensively. They're just young, and there's some holes that they definitely need to address. But, man, their offensive line sucks right now. Wow, Derek Stingley falls a little bit, but the Giants still do not need a corner.
Quarterback, give him Strong.
See, I'm in this really tricky spot with the Giants, them taking a quarterback, because I'm over Daniel Jones, and I think whoever they bring in, new coach, new GM, is going to say, okay, do we really want to waste the first year of our regime on giving Daniel Jones another chance? It doesn't work out. Then year 2, you're working with the rookie, and then year 3 is when things are supposed to turn around. That's way too long of a timetable. Why not get somebody now and then start to turn things around? But this quarterback class, as we've discussed, is not very enticing, so that makes things complicated. But on the note that they are starting from scratch and that Joe Judge is not there is literally no ties to Daniel Jones, meaning that man is screwed. Give me Kenny Pickett. The man is familiar with the market. He is from New Jersey. His quarterback coach is from the area. I think that makes tremendous sense. And it is such a Mara decision to pick the local kid. So give me Kenny Pickett out of Pitt.
Rasiopi, his quarterback coach, just texted me about like an hour ago, by the way.
Really?
So, yeah.
Does it mean what I think it means?
No, you're just asking how a couple of his kids did down at the College Growing Showcase.
Okay, we'll talk off there.
Kenny Two Gloves, baby. What are we doing here?
Joe, you think having the second top 10 pick makes that selection a little easier?
Because if they don't have that second pick, then it's really risky to not address any of those other needs and then just to throw Kenny Pickett into the fire of a crappy offensive line and a messy defense. Instead, you get an offensive lineman. It's vastly improved by just plugging in one guy because the rest of the group sucks. So I think that makes it a lot easier that they are definitely going to say at 7, oh, hell, let's just reach on a quarterback because we already got a guy that's going to fix a problem.
I just hope that he can hold the hat when the commissioner gives it to him,
His baby hands.
That's hilarious.
Oh, Alex, look at that. You got your hometown team.
Oh, that's a fix. You got your team, Joe. Your team. You got your team.
I always pick first because I'm incompetent. It was unintentional. I will not pick first next time.
I agree with you. You are incompetent. Go ahead now.
I took a corner for the Dolphins last time we did a mock draft.
Yeah. No, this is a good situation for the Falcons. I kind of like where they ended up landing as far as draft selection goes, just based on need. Obviously, as we've talked about for what seems like a decade, the Falcons desperately need an edge rusher. They haven't had an edge presence since the random year in which Vic Beasley came around and had 15.5 sacks. So the Falcons just continue to be in desperate need of that position. Marlon Davidson's kind of a guy that can kind of play inside, outside, have some versatility. Dante Fowler, just
Dante Fowler got Aaron Donald so much. I mean, Aaron Donald got Dante Fowler so much money.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So George Karlaftis for me here is in the running. Obviously, you have 2 great cornerback prospects who I view very similarly in Derek Stingley as well as Andrew Booth Jr. Obviously, AJ Terrell had a fantastic season. It looks like he can be a staple on the outside for Atlanta. One of the only things to hang your hat on that Atlanta defense. So do you make you get the other side, you get some physicality out there. I'm going to go screw it. I'm going Andrew Booth Jr. just because I think his mentality, his physicality, his, presence in the run game, coming downhill, as well as obvious, physical tools and the ability to turn the football over the way he can with his ball skills. I think Atlanta's defense, you get two great corners, young corners to build that defense
Clemson
around.
Corners too.
Yeah, two Clemson corners. I didn't even put that connection together, but I think that is the making of a great passing defense, which we desperately need with all the receivers in Atlanta's division.
So we just talked about, and first and foremost, I love Andrew Booth. He's the best corner in the draft, in my opinion. So I love that selection. And I mean, you just wrestled with the pass rush versus coverage debate, right?
Yeah.
Having two lockdown corners is going to improve a pass rush. Like, that's just natural. That's
Absolutely
going to happen. This one, Joe, we actually talked about this a little last night, the Denver Broncos, because they're in a strange position, right? Because their defense has been fantastic. And there's some guys on offense, obviously, Jerry Jeudy and the two-headed running back and Noah Fant and
pretty good offensive line.
Yeah, it's solid offensive line. There's room for improvement a little bit up front, but for most part, it's a good, solid offensive line. So I feel like the term a quarterback away is very overused, but I do think that this Denver Broncos team may literally be a quarterback away. Now, is this the quarterback class to do it? That's up for debate, but I'm going to put who I think is the best quarterback in the draft on what I think is legitimately a quarterback away type of situation. I'm going to give the Denver Broncos Carson Strong, who I think is do that. I think he's ready to play early. And someone could, we're going to talk about the knee for the next couple months, and it's going to be a conversation, and I get it. This is assuming that everything checks out. I think he can come in. I think he can play good football, and Denver Broncos will get better. And then, a couple years down the road, maybe we're talking about the Denver Broncos potentially being a legit Super Bowl contender. Like, it could happen. So Carson Strong, quarterback for Nevada.
Interesting decision there, and I'm sure that we're going to have some very fun comments on why you went with Carson Strong over Corral, but no, I don't disagree, and I think that once things are cleared up with his knee, I don't see why Carson Strong won't be in better consideration, especially, Corral's dealing with an injury too, so it's a matter of which one you decide to go with. All right, back up with the Jets with their second first-round pick. They are selecting at 10th overall. This is a layup, easy, man. Yeah. They ended up in a position where they get Aidan Hutchinson, and I was debating Derek Stingley, and Derek Stingley is still on the freaking board. I'm not even going to think twice there. Derek Stingley and Aidan Hutchinson for that defense, that is a serious boost, and if they can get both of those dudes, oh, man, that is going to be a very, very nice young defense. And maybe not this upcoming season, but like in 2 years, they are going to be very, very talented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good pick. Obviously, coming away with those two in the top 10 for the Jets is really appealing on that defensive side. Like you said, Robert Saleh wanting to build up that defense, being a defensive-minded guy. That's a fun pairing here in the top 10.
For sure.
All right, Alex, what do you got?
Oh, it's my turn. Washington football team. Ooh, another team that despite a down year defensively, I just don't think that's Washington. I think Washington's a better defense than they showcase, especially on the early part of this season. They are in that conversation for being a quarterback away. I think they need some more weapons offensively. I think they are missing something there. Obviously, Terry McLaurin kind of leading the way there. How do you go quarterback here? That'd be kind of fun.
Do it.
Yeah, let's freaking do it. Why not? Let's go Matt Corral, quarterback.
Yeah.
You get someone like Antonio Gibson. You got someone that can create short separation, honestly, separation all across the field. And Terry McLaurin. I think Matt Corral could step in and be kind of that quarterback that can also double as that just true playmaker with his feet and be able to extend plays. I think that's a fun little fit for that offense. Maybe attack some wide receivers on day two. That'd be a fun little draft for the Washington football team.
Yeah, they need to figure it out, right? Like they're another talented roster that needs to figure out what the quarterback's looking like. Ready? We're going to do a little bit of a game here, fellas. I need us to put our hands in front of us so I make sure that no one is Googling anything, Joseph. Who, Alex?
Oh, sorry.
What player led the Minnesota Vikings in sacks in 2021?
Everson Griffin.
Bro, he's not on the team.
Oh.
It's not Danielle Hunter's probably who you were thinking of, Joe.
Yes, I was thinking of
Danielle Hunter had 6 sacks in 7 games, which was second on the team.
Oh, wow.
Who was it? Who's bad?
Wait, give it. Wait, is it like a recent draft, like a young guy?
Yeah, I think it's his second year.
Go ahead, just say it. Just say it.
You already started it.
DJ Wanham.
What?
South Carolina.
8 sacks, which isn't a terrible number, but the point of that is to say that defensive back could get better because Danielle Hunter is starting to get hurt all the time. Everson Griffin, who Joe just picked, is not even in the room anymore. DJ Wanham is probably more of a rotational player, even though he had some production, which is good. And, I mean, you're in a situation here where you're playing Kirk Cousins a lot of money to still be a solid player. Like, I don't think he's a great quarterback, but he's good and he's fine. Cornerback would be a position, but, like, I don't want to draft Ahmad Gardner here. I just don't. I'm going to draft the best player on the board, George Karlaftis, who is also their type of defensive end. Like, they like that type of size. You just mentioned Everson Griffin. Stylistically, from a physical perspective, they're built very similar, and they kind of play similarly. So, George Karlaftis, Minnesota Vikings. I think that's a pretty easy one for me.
Or possibly the other thing I think on the table maybe is quarterback. They could be one of those quarterback teams depending on what happens with Cousins, but that's uncertainty.
They're just paying Cousins a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to get out of that contract.
Unless they move him.
They need to find like a Colts that's going to panic. But
so if the Cleveland Browns they are up, and if I don't take a receiver, I think I would be annihilated on the YouTube comments. I'm going to keep this simple. I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson. I think that there is going to be a slight hit to Jameson Williams' draft stock because of the knee injury. Probably nothing significant. He'll probably still be a first-round pick, but there are going to be some doubt, and I'm sure some teams will be a little bit wary. So Garrett Wilson, they want somebody who's going to be immediate, who can step in, provide some type of an impact. And we don't have a Jamar Chase or a Jalen Waddle necessarily in this draft class, but we still have some quality receivers, and they just need help. Any receiver is going to help this group because Jarvis Landry is slow as hell. And like Donovan Peoples-Jones is pretty good, but like you need help.
That was such an easy pick, Joe. You got a layup at 10 with the Jets with the Derek Stingley thing. And dude, that one was so layups. You literally got an Ohio wide receiver to stay in the States for the biggest position of need. Well, maybe quarterback is now, but either way, easy pick there.
Exactly. All right, Alex.
Oh, Baltimore.
This one's tricky.
Is it tricky?
Is it?
Draft another receiver.
No. Hollywood is gonna be a part of that team. Rashad Bateman,
and they took Bateman last year.
They took Bateman in the first. I don't think they're going wide receiver back to back.
And they have Mark Andrews, count him as a pass catcher.
He's their number one target. Let's. I really want to focus on the defensive side of the football here. Gonna get J.K. Dobbins back. We're not even thinking about running back in the first round. Yeah, let's go defense side of the football. We have some talent here. You got DeMarvin Leal. You have Jordan Davis, who people really like. We have David Ajabo, who I think kind of fits their scheme. But no, we're just going to go with, Calais Campbell's getting old. Let's get someone to replace him in that kind of role. DeMarvin Leal, I think, is just a talented football player. We talked about this on that the Twitter Spaces the other day. DeMarvin Leal is just one of those physical presence that every defense wants him to be a part of. I mean, he can do it all. To have that athleticism at that size, it's kind of reminiscent of what Calais Campbell was in his prime as far as athleticism for his size. I think that he fits that 3-4 mold that they like to run a lot. He can kind of play inside there, 5 tech, 4 tech. I think that's kind of where he's going to be best. Baltimore Ravens, DeMarvin Leal.
That's another easy one, honestly, because like he just fits what the Ravens like to do with like that big ends, even to odd man front. Like it just makes sense. And honestly, from a talent perspective, DeMarvin Leal's probably a top 10 player, but he just hasn't quite put it all together. But you're going to bet on him putting it together when he's on the Baltimore Ravens. They develop players as well as anybody. So first of back-to-back Eagles picks. So there's a couple ways I could go here, Joe. There's a couple ways. And honestly, we probably should go this way in back-to-back selections here. They're not going to take a quarterback. I'm not a Jalen Hurts guy, but like they made the
playoffs with him. It just doesn't make sense.
They're going to give him another year. You're not sold in the quarterback class. Like Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback next year, even though I don't know if he is the long-term solution. Can you go to the cornerback board real quick? Because
while you're thinking about that though, you don't think let's project that the Eagles lose in the wild card round. They have a pick like they're slotted here on the mock draft machine here at 19 or so. With 3 picks in the middle of the first round with this, say a board with 2 quarterbacks taken thus far.
Let's
just say that's the board. Or to just gamble with one of those 3 first-round picks on a quarterback. Do you not think that's in the cards at all? Or I don't think you trade up.
Take Stetson Bennett.
Is he on the board? Is he on the winner?
He's on the board.
He's on the board. That's crazy. It's on the CFL board. Alex, I mean, to answer your question, like in my world, I would possibly take a swing at a quarterback, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm just trying to be a little more realistic. The other way I was thinking was Linderbaum, because Jason Kelsey is going to retire at any moment, and he fits how Jason Kelsey's kind of been throughout his career, right? Like that creating movements, and he's a guy that is gifted athlete. But I was looking at cornerback because they have Darius Slay, who played really good football. Other corner, Steven Nelson, is very replaceable. Do I go Kyrie Elam? I'm not. Can you go to the edge board for me, Joe?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go with the upside here. So they have Brandon Graham coming back from an Achilles, 34 years old. Their best defensive end this year was Josh Sweat, who's a very meh player. Okay. What's his name? Derek Barnett is going to be out of the building after this year. He's a free agent. I am going to give them David Ajabo here. High upside, defensive end. Dude, if you told me 4 or 5 years from now that David Ajabo ended up being the best defensive end in this class, I'd be all right. All right. I'm not going to buy it today, but I can buy it long term. That's what type of athlete he is. 10'8", 100-meter runner, Joe, at Blair Academy in New Jersey at his size.
Wow. Holy crap.
Nutty, dude. He's going to run in the
Jersey guy.
He's going to run in the 4.4s at 255 pounds.
That's insane.
It's crazy. Him and Owe from Penn State run at Blair Academy together for like a couple years. So, yeah.
So, Ryan, you made things insanely easy for me because you literally announced who is the likely pick. Well, I'm getting so many layups, man. I think that it makes too much sense for them not to take Tyler Linderbaum. And, Kelsey's going to be done. It almost works perfectly to replace one small center with another small center. And Linderbaum is fantastic. He's a great athlete. He needs to go to a situation where he fits based on scheme. Otherwise, he's probably not going to work out. We kind of see that happening with some of these centers lately where they don't really go in the right spot and then they don't end up being successful. So Linderbaum, they fixed that center spot immediately. No problems there. Offense continues moving the way that they are.
All right.
Makes sense. Great analysis.
Too much sense.
It does. Ah, man. This is a fun one. Los Angeles Chargers. It's a good roster.
It's a good roster.
I'm looking at their roster right now. There's a lot of talent. I mean, I think this team is on the verge of being something special if they don't take timeouts when.
Or go for it on every 4th down, even at your own 20-yard line.
Yeah,
get them a kicker that can hit 80-yard field goals.
Oh my God,
man, look at this talent. Obviously, Joey Bosa.
Matt Arises from San Diego State is
that will fix their situation. Matt Ariza, not Michael Turk, who should not be selected by anybody.
Who's the top kicker? Go to the kickers real quick. Who's the top kicker?
Yeah.
Who?
I don't think any of those guys are particularly astounding.
I know Mevis and the kid from Oklahoma. Who the heck is Noah Ruggles? I've never heard of that guy before.
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
Huh. Interesting.
Who's Michael Schofield?
He's a guard from Michigan.
Yeah, don't know who he is. You know what?
Looking on the depth chart? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm looking at the depth chart right now, and I'm like, who is this cat?
All right, let's do our pick here, buddy.
I will tell you, I'm between two people here. I'm between Kenyon Green.
Kenyon Green's still available?
Kenyon Green is still available.
Yeah.
Look, you want to make a strength a stronger strength, I guess. Yeah, that's how you do it. And then Devin Lloyd's kind of a fun name here. I know they just got Kenneth Murray 2 years ago,
no,
but he hasn't.
Actually a layup.
No, I'm gonna go Kenyon Green.
It's too early for Jordan Davis, man.
Really?
You're gonna Joe. Like, this is the thing, man. Like,
Kenyon Green's the pick, by the way.
Okay, sorry, I got distracted.
Jordan Davis. It's just, I mean, it's the simple fact that, like, if you were mocking him like 30 something to the Chiefs, let's say, where their roster is good and they just, they could take a pick where it's like super niche, right? Or a Green Bay Packers maybe, or just the best football teams in the NFL. Like, I'd be like, all right, but at pick 17 for a guy that may only play 50% of the snaps at a highest point because he can't play pass rushing downs. I don't know. I just feel I honestly would not be supportive of Jordan Davis going top 25, like 20. Like, I just wouldn't. So I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
I agree with you 100%.
New Orleans Saints.
Wrap us up.
Last pick.
I don't think there's a quarterback that I want here. So I'm going to look at the wide receiver board. No, there's definitely not a quarterback I want here.
Sure there is.
Oh, man.
Jameson Williams.
No.
Dude, you guys are going to hate me for this, ready?
Because you're going to say Chris Olave.
Boy.
Listen, I'm just saying.
Not a chance, man. So, hey, the Saints have nobody wide receiver. Like, they have Callaway, who's an okay little player. They got the little Harris kid that's the returner that's got some speed.
Little Jordan Humphrey.
Oh, Jordan Humphrey. They got Michael Thomas, who hasn't played in like 7 years. But they don't have a dude right now that they can depend on, a guy that brings a substantial amount of physicality. Drake London. Receiver.
I can tell by the way you're going that way.
You're obsessed with Drake London, I feel like.
I really like Drake London, man. Brandon Marshall vibes, but like I'm getting flashbacks now to when the Saints had Marcus Colston for a second. They're different players.
Yeah.
Different players, but like you had Colston, who's just that big body, number one receiver, and then you had a bunch of speed around him, and that's what we're working with here.
Drake London does not go down. That's for sure.
Dude, he's a monster, man. Monster.
He is Javonte Williams as a wide receiver.
Good call. That's a good comp. I like that comp.
Yeah, it's talking about contact balance. He's not going down. That's a fun pick. Listen, that's why I had to go Andrew Booth for the Falcons. We need cornerbacks to cover these guys.
100%, man.
All right, I think that's a good note to wrap us up on. Look at us staying on schedule. Be sure to follow us at NFL Prospects Pod, at Joe DeLeone, at Rise and Draft, at Alex Gilstrap, and then subscribe to the YouTube channel or the audio feed. Talk to you later, folks. Enjoy the rest.